Hey everybody, we are now through game one of all 8 opening round series in the NHL playoffs this year. And one storyline that is really sticking out to me is the success of road teams in these opening games. And I want to talk about that a little bit today because there certainly has not been any home ice advantage early on in these playoffs. Now, obviously, it's only one game and it's not the determining factor of an entire series, but the way that a lot of these road teams have come out and played as the lower seeds, as the underdogs, they have really been impressive. And they've gone out there, they've, in a lot of cases, taken it to the home teams, taken it to the teams that were expected to win, and have come away with some big wins that completely take away any sort of home ice advantage. It's always said that when you're the lower seed in a series, all you have to do in the first 2 games is go and steal one of those first 2 games on the road, and all of a sudden that home ice advantage is gone. 6 of the 8 road teams in game one were able to do that. 6 out of 8 went on the road as the lower seed, as the underdog, and stole game one. So I want to talk about that and the impact that that can have on a series. And obviously, nobody wins a series in the first game. It's a best of 7. You've got to win 4. There's still a lot of hockey left to be played and a long way to go. But all of these teams that were able to go out and win on the road did themselves a huge favor and really increased their chances of being able to possibly steal this entire series and pull off the upsets. So let's take a look at these scores and these teams and recap who was able to get these big road wins. All right, everybody. So if we go back to Monday night, it was the opening night of the playoffs and things got underway. The only 2 home teams that actually took care of business in game one on home ice were the first 2 games of the playoffs. The Carolina Hurricanes were able to squeak out a 2-1 win over the Islanders, and the Bruins, despite being largely outplayed, especially in the first 2 periods, were able to beat the Panthers 3-1, and they got the job done. The top 2 seeds in the East did what they were supposed to do in game one at home. The entire rest of the playoffs, including all 4 Western Conference series, did not go that way. We had the Minnesota Wild pull off an incredible double overtime win over the Dallas Stars, and the LA Kings were able to come back from 2 goals down in the third period to win in overtime against the Oilers and pull off a big upset there. And that was just the start. That was night 1. We had 2 big overtime wins for road teams there. And then we go to last night, Tuesday night, the other set of game 1s, and it was all about winning on the road last night. The New York Rangers demolished a very inexperienced New Jersey Devils team that looked very inexperienced last night, 5-1. The Lightning put an absolute beat down on the Toronto Maple Leafs, 7-3 in that game. Now, I don't think it's panic time yet for any of these teams, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later in this video. But that was a little eye-opening to see the Lightning crush Toronto the way that they did in a game that was so important for the Maple Leafs in this playoff series that is so important for the Maple Leafs. And then again out west, the road teams out west just continued the winning ways with the Jets just handling the Vegas Golden Knights 5-1 in that game. And the Seattle Kraken pulling off a huge upset over the defending Stanley Cup champion Avalanche 3-1. Now, obviously, we know that the Avalanche aren't the same team that they were last year between guys that they lost in the offseason and injuries that they're dealing with. The Avalanche are not quite the juggernaut that they were last season, but still, that's the defending champions in Seattle in their first ever franchise playoff game is able to come in and steal a win on the road. So just it's across the board. It was 6 out of 8 game 1s, all 4 games last night. The road team was able to go in and win. Now, obviously, like I said earlier, nobody wins a playoff series in game one. You know, you have to get 4 wins. It's a best of 7. You have to keep rolling. You have to keep playing. And none of these teams that lost game one at home should be panicking either. It's way too early in the series to be panicking. And I mean, they can come out, win game two. You're evened right back up, and it becomes a best of 5 heading to the other city with a 1-1 series, which is honestly pretty common in the NHL playoffs for series to start 1-1. So it's certainly not panic time. There's still plenty of time for these teams that lost to come back. I just found it really interesting and kind of really exciting that so many road teams were able to steal that first game. I mean, where you've got 3/4 of the series 1-0 in favor of the underdog, that's really exciting as a hockey fan. And you know, I think some of these series that people thought were going to be on the shorter side may end up being a bit longer, particularly that Seattle Colorado series. So many people had Colorado in 5, and we're just hammering the Avalanche. And I think Seattle is going to be able to put up a fight. I could see that absolutely being a long series, maybe even going 7 games. So, you know, I think we're in for a really fun and exciting round. And I think the fact that these road teams and underdogs were able to go out and win that first game just kind of shows that this is the NHL playoffs. Anything can happen, and nothing is a foregone conclusion. Like you cannot take a series win or even a win in a single game for granted. You have to earn every single win, every single point in the NHL playoffs. And you know, we were just able to see these underdog teams, these lower seeds, come out and take care of business in game number 1, where, you know, frankly, the pressure's not on them. The pressure is on the home team, the higher seed with higher expectations, on home ice where they're expected to win. The pressure is all on them to go out there and have to win and take care of business. And man, when you have that pressure off like these lower seeds did, and you can just go out there, play loose, play hockey, bring the energy, and just, you know, see what happens, you're able to pull off the upsets like we saw over these first 2 days of the playoffs. So, you know, it's going to be a lot of fun to see how these teams that lost respond. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see if these teams that really went out and stole the show on the road and was able to get this early series advantage are able to keep rolling with that momentum and carry that through multiple games and you know, really show signs that, hey, we're here to pull off this upset, and we have a very real capability of doing it, which I do think a lot of these teams do have the capability of doing it. And there's not going to be any easy series, I don't think, here in this first round. I think it's going to be a dogfight the whole way for sure. So all in all, I think it's really interesting and really exciting. The fact that there has been no home ice advantage in these playoffs so far through these first games. So many of these road teams were able to steal game number 1 and really set themselves up in a great position for at least making it a long series, if not pulling off the upset overall in the series at the end. You know, anytime you can steal games on the road, especially early in a series, you just increase your chances tenfold of being able to pull off the upset and win the series. And at the very least, make it go 6 or 7 games rather than 4 or 5. And like we've seen over these last 2 nights, a lot of these teams have been able to do that. So it's very exciting as a hockey fan. I think it's very interesting and great to see, and it's setting us up for a great first round. But on the same token, it's important not to panic if you're a home team that lost, if you're a higher seed that lost. It's a long series. 1 loss does not equal 4 losses. There's still a lot of hockey left to be played. And you just got to regroup, reset, and make sure that you take care of business in game number 2. So I just wanted to touch on that and how these road teams have taken home ice advantage away and have come out and played really well in many of these early games. And I think that's one of the biggest storylines that I've picked up on through these for opening nights and these game number ones. Is that these road teams are not pushovers. These lower seeds are not pushovers. It's a Stanley Cup playoffs. Anything can happen. And we are in for some very long, hard fought series that are going to go right down to the wire.